more suffering because we are not so professional at that time, right?
You were fine. You were fine.
However, this class has a lot of Polands and Polish guys, and so what I said yesterday, they really miss this program because it's now more or less 10 years ago, yeah?
Now we started, what, 2009, yeah?
Yeah,
2009.
yeah.
It's not
And so they say, okay, we have to do something also to meet us again and so on. And they created an alumni group in Poland. And now they have a big event in December, and I allow for some minutes, that he gives some advertisement and some introduction on this event.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. I mean, we had discussed yesterday a number of things during the party, and because I had many questions about it, Paul said maybe you should repeat it again today. And as a matter of fact, as the organization Implant Masters Poland, about which I talked yesterday, we decided a year ago, after one of our congresses, to make something special, and together with Paul Weigel and the MOI family, decided to make this first global meeting of MOI alumni in Warsaw. And this meeting is open, invited to anybody, to all MOI alumni, but also those who are during the course. And you are invited to come to Warsaw. We will have our traditional conference called Meet the Master, plus on the first day we have the meeting of alumni. It's all under scientific patronage of Paul Weigel, and you also coming, yes, as a moderator of this session, and so you will have the same scientific support from the university as you have here. But the idea is the first time not to do it in Frankfurt, to do it in one of the places where you have masters, and because we have a community of masters in Poland, it's worth to come to us. So just to recapitulate, we have 12 lectures from MOI. We have the opening lecture where peri-implantitis, hot topic, as you know, already spoken today by the first lecture, and the closing presentation by Paul Weigel. On the next day, it's really, before that, we're going to have a nice party. I promise. We got the guy from the Got Talent winner 2016, really worth to see him, the one who makes a light show. And on the next day, we have full all-day lecture of Dr. Henry Salama, well known, as well as the supporting lecture of our colleague from the Implant Masters Poland. So I hope you come to Warsaw. You have time for this to decide. You all have these leaflets. There's all the information in the leaflets that you have on your in your materials. And Warsaw is really worth to see at the Christmas time. This is a beautiful Christmas tree just at the front of the Royal Castle in Warsaw. All the information is at the www.makethemasterfree.com website. Thank you very much for your attention.
To organize it. And I appreciate that we have so much activities, and I think this should be a motivation for other countries also doing this kind of organization to meet us again and again and again. Now I have the honor to announce the next speaker. And I have to say, I see this speaker a long time ago, because he is now more or less on all the stages in the world. And it's absolutely unfamiliar that he is not speaking for 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 participants in the big congresses. And here we have Peter Worley from Los Angeles. He's extra flying in for this congress, giving this 2-hour lectures and tomorrow a workshop. We are very proud to have him here. And a special relation for my personal life is I see him a long time ago. He made at that time a roadshow, and then I see the style of his lecturing, the photographic, the structure of the lecture, and the cases and him. And this was the first time I really admire him, because I say, okay, Paul, we have to learn more to do good lectures, better lectures, and to do better cases. And he is making a decision. Perhaps you have the same decision, but he can be an idol for you. He's not working in a university, but he do always his treatment on the edge of knowledge, on the edge of technology, and on the edge of therapy concepts which are available. He analyzes it, and then he will try and do it in a very, very safe way, because he has patients. On the one hand, very nicely, they are rich and they can afford. But on the other side, if something goes wrong, they have also the money for a lawyer, right? And in this balance, he's doing a lot of innovations too. He invented an implant system. It calls Noble Perfect, and he has also other ideas which are coming into products. So he has really a great career. And I hope some of you is also thinking about, hey, a part of this journey I can also do in my life. Because it's worth to work always on the edge of knowledge and techniques and therapy concepts. So I say a special thank you, Peter, that you are coming here. And we welcome you for the next 2 hours talking about this big topic. And once again, he's coming not because he knows me a lot, not because of the money, because we never can pay his honorarium, you can imagine. But he is coming because we do recently some years a research together, and so we are knowing us a little bit more. And so I think he's coming because of this event and of me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for the kind introduction. I actually enjoy teaching, and I enjoy teaching in a small setting. And this is one of the things that, being a busy practitioner, actually I'm missing the most. Just for my background, in the US we do the team approach, where we typically have a surgeon, a restorative dentist, and of course the lab support. I'm one of the few odd birds that I have a certificate in surgery and prosthodontics, and I'm also a lab technician. So we still practice the team approach. It's just that I'm the whole team. That of course gives me a lot of advantages in terms of providing implant therapy. But at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, I have nobody else to blame, to share the blame with. So we have a pretty fast learning curve so as we do the entire treatment in our center in Beverly Hills now. So Paul asked me to look at some of the leading edge treatments, some of the old concepts, some of the new concepts, and then hopefully some innovative stuff where I see the treatment is going. So as we all starting to use digital technology on a routine basis, the question then ultimately becomes, is it, basically down to the zeros and the ones, right? Because that's all the digital information that there is. And that, of course, would make it too easy because there's a big component that you will need to understand. Now, all of you are familiar with the digital workflow. And there are two parts of the digital workflow. One is the front end, everything we do prior to implant placement. And then there's the back end from implant placement to delivery of the restoration, including follow-up and maintenance. So the front end, and it doesn't matter which system you use, the front end is pretty much worked out. We're going to have cone beam CT data acquisition. For us, it's standard. I haven't seen a patient without a cone beam CT for at least 10 years. If you have a space for an implant and you come to consult for an implant, you will have a cone beam CT. Now, did we place thousands of implants without a cone beam CT? Of course we did. But why would I drive my Porsche with tires that are 40 years old? Can I? Yeah, but if I need to push and if I need to get leading edge technology, I need all the information that I have. So in the US, it's not a standard of care because that's kind of a lawyer term. Standard of care means that if something goes wrong, they can sue you, and so it's not standard of care, but we use it every time. So we'll use a cone beam CT. Then we digitize the patient's intraoral situation, either with intraoral scanning devices or with a scan off a cast. Doesn't really matter. There are certain advantages from one over the other in certain indications. And then after that, we'll formulate a treatment plan. Now, the treatment plan, we'll go over that in detail. It's not a digitized treatment plan. The digital stuff helps us to come up with a good treatment plan. You still have to come up with your diagnosis. So we'll place our implants on the CT, and then we'll make the decisions. Do we need a graft? What's the approach? Is it one stage, two stage, delayed, immediate, whatever. But that will depend on very specific purposes and indication. And then we fabricate a surgical template, and then we finally go to the surgery. So that's the front end. So this has been worked out in detail for multiple systems, and we apply it routinely. Can I place implants without guided surgery? Sure. I looked at my last 100 single tooth implants in the aesthetic zone before I started using guiding surgery, and I looked at them carefully. And what do you think the percentages of implants placed that I think were perfect out of 100? Perfect. I mean, perfect. No deviation, angulation, depth, mesodistal, coronal, apical, buccolingual. Well, I got lucky once or twice. Okay, but it's if I listen to other people, they place 100 implants. Hopefully, 100 are restorable, but they're not placed perfectly. So if you're a really good surgeon, and if you're lucky, maybe can push it up to 10%, which means 90% or not. And in critical cases, and if you're the patient, your case is the one that's critical, right? Using guided surgery will improve your accuracy. There's no doubt about it. And therefore, we use most of the time, I wouldn't say always, but most of the time, we use guided surgery. There's some other indication when we don't use guided surgery, at least not fully guided surgery, especially if we do an onlay graft or a J graft, where I need the manual dexterity to feel the graft right before it pops off, right? You don't have that through the tube. So there are some indications when we cannot use it, but most of the time we will use it. Now the back end is really once the implants are in, what are we going to do to restore it? And of course, we'll take some impressions. We'll talk about temporization, whether you mill them, whether we print them, whether you do them old-fashioned way. There are numerous ways of doing it. We'll design some of the prosthesis. Clearly, we favor screw-retained restorations. Has big advantages. And then, of course, we'll look at the production, whether it is in-house or you outsource it, and then delivery, even follow-up and maintenance. So that's kind of the complete workflow. And it seems sometimes overwhelming, but once you understand it, the question is just how can you maximize doing it? So just to summarize the front end, patient comes in, I'll still look at them, do the thorough exam, but then we'll go ahead do our cone beam CT. Once we have the cone beam CT, intraoral scanning, we're doing in our plan, and then we will combine that. And on the first day, we pretty much have finalized our treatment plan for the patient, and that's something that is important for us, that we can provide the care efficiently. Okay? So with all the information that we have today, we should be able to come up with pretty good treatment plan. And that is really the key of implant dentistry, is really treatment planning. It's kind of hard to teach. The easy cases, typically when I say what's an easy case, most of you think a single tooth. For me, a single tooth is the most difficult case because you have nothing under your control, or just very little bit. The easy case for me is totally edentulous jaw. I have no other teeth to compare to. I'll just place my implant and restore, and it's going to look perfect. So if I have totally edentulous patients that have some bone where I can place implants, I have 100 of those, 100 times I'll be pleasing the patient. No doubt about it. Easy for me. It's complex treatment, but it's easy. If you have a single tooth, especially a single central incisor, out of 100, even making a single central crown is already very difficult, right? So, but if you got to place an implant now, you got some bone loss in adjacent teeth, and then the papillas are in different levels. So what seems to be an easy case, one implant, is going to be rather difficult because your success rate in, as Bertel pointed out, consecutive patients, meaning you cannot select just the patients that have perfect bone, but you got to treat everyday patients, is maybe 70-75%. Now the other cases don't look bad, but it's not what you would be proud of or what I would be proud of. Okay? Or depending where you practice, where your patients point out where there's 0.3 millimeters of tissue missing on one side. So I practice in a very aesthetically driven market. In Beverly Hills, you got to be better than nature, and that's very difficult. So the way we approach these is we typically always look at the present situation. How does the patient present? Where do they want to go? And then is it realistic? So we weed out some patients right off at the top because they have unrealistic expectations. And that's difficult to, once you're married to those patients, once you start treatment, it's very difficult to make them happy. Almost impossible. Most importantly, and this is why you're doctors and not computers, you got to be able to come up with a diagnosis. Now, there are 50 ways to treat a patient, but it will only work if your diagnosis is correct. If your diagnosis is incorrect, no matter how you treat them based on that wrong diagnosis, your treatment outcome is not going to be satisfactory. Okay? So the diagnosis is the key. Once you have the diagnosis, then you have multiple treatment options.